Well, spring doesn't matter if it's the second best team in the National Hockey League that is coming into Colorado. The Avs don't stop winning right now. They are simply, as a lot of hockey fans like to put it, they're a wagon. They're amazing at 5-on-5. It looks like the power play is starting to click. Tonight I thought it was one of their best power play nights of the entire season through their 17 games played so far. Scott Wedgwood continues to stand on his head. Nathan MacKinnon now with 12 points in his last 3 games. And your fourth line was like the best set of forwards on the ice for either one of these teams. They just continue to roll. And right now, there's no stopping the Avalanche.
Hey, right now, it is 11:11 p.m. on 11/11. My wish is that Val Nichushkin's lower body is fine. He left tonight's game. He's a great player. He was the first, not the first. He was actually the second player to hug Gabriel Landeskog. He assisted on Gabriel Landeskog's primary assist, little slot shot from Val. And Landy does what Landy does. He cleans up. He's a trash man. That's what he is. Okay, I'm starting here. How is Gabe Landeskog not the first star of the game? That is blasphemous.
Because he wasn't the best player on the ice?
Doesn't matter. And
because Parker Kelly was the best player on the ice?
Is the thought process.
And Nathan MacKinnon had 3 assists, and Scott Wedgwood only let in 1 goal.
I get it. Who had the game-winning goal?
All right, okay. I'll give you that. He had a little fire poker.
Most important goal. Who scored his first goal in 3 years? Who did the fans want to hear from? No. I'm sorry. And this brings me back many years ago when I would have issues with the stars of the game. I haven't had many in recent years. So that's a throwback. I am calling shenanigans. No. I was like, oh, here comes Landy. You know, it's first out's Lecky's, or I don't even know if they came out. They don't even come out if you're not the first star. Lecky, MacKinnon. And I get it. Scott Wedgwood had a very good game, but I'm like, here it comes. Here's Gabe. Nope. Terrible. Absolutely terrible.
Come on. It can't be that bad. You can't be that upset over a
I'm not
delineation.
Tongue in cheek, but seriously, he should have been the first part of the game. But like for real, he should have been.
It was good to see him get back on the score sheet. It definitely sounded in his post-game presser with the media and the scrum that it was a monkey off of his back, a weight lifted off his shoulders or his chest. It's something that when you go 17 games as a player of that caliber and you see some of the things, I don't know if Gabe is like searching Twitter, but you and I talked about analytics a lot in the last show, and someone who I really, really enjoy following is Jay Fresh. And he threw out a wins above replacement percentile for Gabe Landeskog, and he was the only player in the NHL at 0% simply because he just wasn't scoring. And yes, he's got 4 years left on a $7 million deal for an average annual basis. And when you don't score over 17 games, that's where most of your value has to come. If he scores 15 to 20 this year, it's far, far away from 0%. So he's doing the right things. They're deploying him the right way, and he's playing bottom 6 minutes right now. I'd like to see him get a little bit more on the power play. Taking him off of the first power play unit will automatically cut his goal production in a quarter.
Yeah. Yeah, those were a lot of goals he was scoring in that situation before the injury. And now he doesn't have the luxury of being net front on power play 1 where you can get some, I don't want to call them easier or cheaper goals, but
they're certainly easier. Scoring on the power play is easier than scoring.
Well, I'm not. Yes. To that, in that respect, yes. But my clarification was going to be that it still takes skill. You know, you can't just. Just because you're net front on a power play doesn't mean just anyone is going to have their goal numbers go up. It still takes skill. And you saw on Landy's goal, like that's it's headiness. And yeah, a lot of players can make that play, but Gabe's done that a million times. And, some people fumble those pucks. Like Gabe's good. Gabe's good cleaning those things up and bam, real quick. And, then if he was on the power play, the tips, he's such a great tipper. And that especially is a skill. And hey, look, shout out Marty Necas. That had to be, I think, his first tip pucked goal of the season. All the net front opportunities that Marty Necas has had just by, the factor that he's being asked to play that role given the movement that they have on their power plays and they want him out there. That's fine. Well, you got to tip some pucks in. Now, this is one of those low tips off the ice, but nonetheless, a net front goal for Marty Necas on the power play. You got to start with one. He got one.
I liked him. I liked what the power play looked like this evening. I thought they were dynamic. I thought they moved constantly. We obviously see a goal scored by McKinnon as he's not taking a one-timer there. He fakes it and then walks to the middle and waits for some net front presence with the double tip from Landis, or from Lehkonen and Necas. I thought McCarr on the power play was more than adequate at the top of that unit. That is the way the Avs power play should look. It should look dangerous on at least half. I thought one power play was the first one, or the final one in the second period looked a little meh. And it felt like it was a little bit of dirty ice, but the two power plays in the third period were phenomenal. They don't score on one, they did score on another. Watch out if this team scores in the power play. You think the team's unstoppable right now. If they start scoring at 5-on-4 and continue what they're doing at 5-on-5, you can't beat them right now. Not with the way that they're playing. In spring, I was right. 27% of Gabe Landeskog's regular season goals come on the power play. So if you take him out of there, like he's a player that in his career has scored 30 goals twice. He has scored 20 goals 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 times in his career. If you take away a quarter of those, I think he scores 20 in 5 or 6 of those seasons, and he only has 130 goal season if you take away 25 to 27%.
Yeah, he probably would have already had a regular season goal this year had he
Yep.
been on the power play. I still do wonder if, as the season goes along, certainly towards the final month or so, if we do see him out there. I do wonder. I don't think it was an accident. No, it absolutely wasn't an accident that he got a top line shift at the end of the first period on Sunday night. That was his only one that he's had. I can't remember the first couple games of this season when Landy was on the second line. If he got a top line shift, but since he got moved down to the third line, he certainly hadn't until the end of the second period on Sunday night. That's obviously on purpose. That wasn't a line change thing. That was coming like out to a draw. Now it's just one shift, but I do think he's been playing better over the past few games after there was a real lull. He came out looking good, dipped significantly, and then it started to pick it up of late. And if he does get to that better level that he has played at in his career, then he's a top 6 player. And he's great net front presence. So I don't think he's stuck on the third line. If the knee continues to respond, and this is a slow burn, slow play, he's still averaging like 12 to 13 minutes a game. You're not seeing that change. There's a clear plan with him right now. But as the months progress, when he's right, he's a top 6 player. He's a power play one guy. I wouldn't be surprised if we see him in either of those roles again. And now, hey, if Nichushkin misses a game plus, also that creates an interesting thing of what you can do. I don't know if Landeskog factors into those plans because you might still be managing his minutes, but there are options there.
I mean, that's a left-handed two-way player in the top 6. And talk to me about who fits in the bottom 6 to take over that type of role. Landeskog fits it. He is the guy that fits that role more so than anybody. Let's hold that right now. We're going to go out to Ball Arena where DMAC joins us live.
Hey guys, nice win by the Avalanche. Thanks for bringing me in. Report from the locker room. How about this from what Jared Bednar said? We're pushing the standards of perfection. It's
Yep.
kind of cool, right? When he's asked about, what are they working on for a team that's doing this well. Also asked about breaking streaks. Look at the teams they've beaten. And he says we're just doing like a lot of everything the right way, which they are, from goaltending to depth to Nathan McKinnon being out of this world to Makar. There's just not a lot to complain about. Meanwhile, Wedgwood is doing dancing, pirouetting, circus saves that he laughed about.
He's
there's
getting
no
kicked in the nuts.
strategy there. It's just reaction. And he said they're having a lot of fun. But the focus tonight was on Gabe Landeskog. Landeskog told us that he could finally face his son, who keeps asking him when he's going to score a goal. So Gabe laughed about, being able to go home and giving his son good news because he assumed that his son was, asleep. So, positive vibes all around. Getting a goal within, 30 seconds helps quite a bit. Wedgwood says, that lightens the load. Even though the Ducks came and tied it up, still you start hot and you go from there. And it wasn't even a perfect game. It wasn't. There were, slow moments. There was, moments where when the jump wasn't there. But who knows, man? You just keep beating other good teams. So what happens when the Sabres come to town? Well, we'll find out, and we'll find out if Blackwood perhaps goes in net there. A report on Val Nichushkin, he had an issue earlier in the game and a lower body injury that I believe he was in the X-ray room. When I went down from the press box, it was blocked off. I had to go a little sideways to get around. So no definitive word on that, but just a pinch concerning. So we'll see with what's going on with Val. But overall, 20,000 as usual, or whatever it is here. Another sold out night, just fantastic. So I'll send it back to you guys, and nice night for Ball Arena.
DMAC, we appreciate it as always. Spring, as he said, the story is what you led off between the pipes with. It is Gabe Landeskog scoring his first goal in 3 years in the regular season, whatever it was, 1,300 days, something crazy like that. I want to go back to Wedgwood. I'm waiting for the bubble to burst. Is it ever going to burst?
We saw, let me bring up his game log here, because there was a game or two after he had started 6+ straight. We even talked about how, he really has not started this many consecutive games. Now, Blackwood's back. We saw Trent Miner's start mixed in there. Let's see. Let up 4 to the Hurricanes. He's let up 4 to the Stars. That was the third game of the year. The Hurricanes win that game 5-4, but in a shootout. That's not really allowing you're allowing a shootout goal. It was just one. It was the opening. It was Seth Jarvis, first one. Allowed 4 against the Devils, but the Avs were up 5-0 in that game. That's pretty damn good. That's pretty damn good, man. Even when it felt like it was is he getting tired? No, it's actually still not bad. Now that you look back on it, now that we have the benefit of hindsight and perspective. Hey, man, if that's what it is, because, there's always this idea of okay, you're paying Blackwood the money, the 5 point whatever million dollars, which is pretty damn good deal for
Right.
a starting goaltender with some high end level. And that's what McKenzie is when he's right. He's not quite right now, but he still has looked pretty solid in his 2 starts. He's 1-0-1. Wedgwood's been great, and it's not just, the numbers and the results. It's when you watch him, the saves he's making. I think he's more fundamentally sound this season than he was last year. I don't know what's up with that, but that's just what it looks like when I watch him play. But my point was, you want to go with the guy you're paying $5+ million, and Wedgie's making what, $2 million? But guess what? Who cares? You go with the better guy. And if Wedgwood is not showing any signs of slowing down, And McKenzie's got the profile. He got the contract. He's in the prime of his career. But until Scott Wedgwood proves otherwise, I think we're kind of coming around to he's the one.
I can't really argue with it right now because I don't know what the actual status is for Mackenzie Blackwood. I still believe they're treating him like he's doing extended spring training, right? He's that type of pitcher who's just waiting to come back, and you're not worried about getting him innings in May, and you're not worried about getting him big innings in June. But he still has to play a little bit. He still has to pitch here and there. He's going to get three and a third there. He's going to get four and a third a couple of weeks. He's going to pitch an inning and a third the start after that. Like it's kind of treating it, unfortunately, like with kid gloves. I think he's the better goaltender. Wedgwood's playing great. I do get nervous about how fundamentally Blackwood looks so much more in control when he's in the net. And Wedgwood makes those he made like 3 of them tonight, these slinky saves
There was
where
more tonight, but I'm telling you, overall this season, he's looked more fundamentally sound.
don't get me wrong. He's been better this year, and he's obviously the stats back it up and the record backs it up. I'm not complaining whatsoever. I just worry that if you get into situations where the team isn't playing as well 5-on-5 and you're not dominating both on the offensive and defensive side of the puck, that overexerting yourself as a goaltender can lead to grade A scoring opportunities that you're not always going to save. So that's always the thing in the back of my head with Wedgwood. He's awesome. He's showing right now he's the best backup in the league, and should, when his contract runs out at the end of this season, for a team that needs a goalie, like, do you think Toronto wants him right now? Look at the shit that Anthony Stolarz is pulling right now with the Maple Leafs. You think Edmonton wants Scott Wedgwood right now? If I was either one of those two fan bases, I would be calling Chris McFarland left, right, and center and going, "What do you want? Do you want? I don't know if it's a first rounder. Do you want a second rounder with a condition on it?" Because those two fan bases, like Toronto, might not make the playoffs this year. It's so bad.
Yeah, well, and hey, I predicted Toronto would miss the playoffs.
I know. I think I had them winning their division like a dumbass.
I've been pretty good. I had the Habs winning that division. I had the Leafs out. I had the Ducks as the 8th seed.
Dude, how real are the Ducks after seeing them?
I was gonna get to it, dude. They are legit. Now they're not winning a cup this year, but they're here, and they're going to be a playoff team for years to come. Now, maybe we're putting that BTP curse on it because remember what we thought that about the Vancouver Canucks several years ago. But no, like Leo Carlsson's better than Elias Pettersson. Now, Pettersson looked damn good, and he's still good in that first year or two of his career, but he's like skinny.
And he doesn't have the same compete as Carlsson.
Yes.
Carlsson, that dude plays hard.
Yeah, he's big. Like he's what, I would talk about Mikko Rantanen not having that for the size that Mikko has, not having that get the hell out of my way to his game. Carlson's got to get the fuck out of my way.
Yep.
To his game. Yeah, no, he's the real deal. It's kind of crazy that Karlsson, Bedard, and Celebrini are all doing their thing right now, kind of as anticipated. I would go, if I were to rank the 3, I'd go Karlsson 1, Celebrini 2, Bedard 3.
Okay, I'm flipping,
they're all great though.
I'm flipping Celebrini and Karlsson.
Okay.
And maybe it's just like my personal bias with Celebrini. I understand that you can't create the height and weight that Karlsson has over those two players. And I think that's probably where your head goes. He goes, well, Leo has the same amount of skill that Macklin does. And maybe he doesn't have the same relocation and snapshot that Bedard does, because not many in the league do, but he's got something that's very comparable. But what he has on Bedard is like 6 inches and 45 pounds. And you're not making that up in the aggregate. I think it is razor thin, but I go Celebrini, Karlsson, and then I have a gap, and then it goes Bedard.
It's amazing that all 3 of those teams. I mean, the Sharks go into Minnesota and win tonight, and they're 8-6-3. Yes,
another overtime winner.
the Blackhawks are 8-5-3. All three of those teams, the Ducks, the Sharks, and the Blackhawks, when you get a dude, when the Avalanche get McKinnon, and it took him a little bit, but then when you get McCarr, when you get dudes, things happen. So yeah, look, Anaheim's for real. They looked good in stretches tonight, but they were also exposed. And Colorado exposed that, hey, you're there, but you're not there. We're there. And that's what tonight was.
It's a team that I would love to see in the playoffs in the first round. Because I think you dispose of the Ducks in about 5 games, but
Mm-hmm.
it'd be 5 games where you look back and you go, that was harder than it looked. That there's a few
Exactly.
games in there where you got a little scared, where your butthole got a little squeaky. And there's probably going to be one game where they just click offensively and you lose by 3 and you go, what, you got smacked upside the head? What did they just do? And you think back to those Quenneville coached Blackhawk teams of the 2010s. You go, oh, that's what happened. Um, that's the team I want. I want to see Anaheim in round 1
Yeah,
because I think
it's like when the Avs were the 8 seed going up against the 1 seeded Predators. Now the Avs as a 1
right.
seed are better than that Nashville team, but that's the step. That's why I had them as my 8 seed, and that might be where they end up. Because look, Vegas is gonna get hot. Vegas has lost 3 in a row. Edmonton is probably gonna get hot. Despite the goaltending and even a flaw or two that Vegas has, there's just too much. It's just different when you're in your prime, when it's Eichel, when it's McDavid and Draisaitl, when you're in your prime over an 82 game sample size, it's really hard it's going to be really hard for Anaheim to keep that 1 seed.
Yeah, the poll of Nashville and Colorado back in 2017, I think, is great. If you're Calgary the next year,
Yeah,
and you get bounced in the first round by Cale Makar coming over from UMass and scoring in his first period in Ball Arena, and you lose that series as a top seed, and you look back and you go, should we have seen this coming when they pushed Nashville, a team that was knocking on the door? They were inches away from winning a Stanley Cup championship in those years.
mm-hmm.
You think they look back on that and go, maybe we should have seen it coming? And I have that feeling about the Ducks right now. I also think you're right that you and I can curse teams because the Canucks felt similar all those years ago. It's a good team. Can they hold on to a top 3 seed in the Pacific?
I think they
Are
can
they the
maybe
third
hold
best
the
team in the
top
Pacific?
3, but I don't know if they can hold on to the 1. Because either Vegas or Edmonton's coming. I don't know which one it's going to be, but one of them's coming. I would say Vegas, and it could be both. It could easily be both. One of them's going to make a charge where they whip off like 6+ in a row, just like Anaheim whipped off 7 in a row. It's November. That can happen, but in January, in February, that's when, a Vegas or an Edmonton is going to get it going. Now, hey, as far as, look, the idea of Wedgwood, though, because Edmonton needs goaltending. You can't trade Scott Wedgwood, even if you got a 1. You can't do it.
No, absolutely not.
Yeah. Now you see these backups. There are backups who, turn into competent starters even later in their career. And so next season, yeah, Scott Wedgwood could find himself as a starter for a team that thinks that they can, make a little bit of a run. But right now it's great to have the insurance of both those goaltenders.
Yeah, and you know what? Again, I believe that Mackenzie Blackwood is your 1, and you do not have a controversy brewing. I do also believe that you continue to ride Scott Wedgwood's hot hand until it cools off. And I think that's what the team is going to do. I worry about Thursday's game. They're playing the AHL version of the Buffalo Sabres. It would be so easy to sleepwalk through that game. And I say this also understanding they could put like 7 or 8 up on Buffalo because they're so injured. They're playing so poorly right now. It's a trap game, man. That's a game that you walk into sleepwalking thinking you're going to get a win.
Well, let's see who's out for them right now. I know that Rasmus Dahlin is like in Sweden with his wife.
You see what's happening?
I know something's going on with his wife. What is
So
it
she had
specifically?
so a few months ago, it was either last year, I think it was last year, last summer, something like that. Had a cardiac episode, and her heart just like stopped working. And she is a super healthy 20-year-old, 20 something year old. She's going through a heart transplant.
Wow.
Yeah.
I did see that Dahlin was training with like an SHL team to stay fresh. You know, best wishes to them and their family. Um, Look, it looks like Bo and Byram. They got Byram, they got Tage, they got Tuck. Connor Timmins is actually on the first D pair with Owen Power, former first overall pick Owen Power. How about Connor Timmins playing on that first D pair?
How about Connor Timmins still in the league?
How about that?
You could have told me that he was out of the league this year. I would have
He's a
believed you.
top D man. Hey, yeah, trap game. There's talent there, but the Avs seem locked in right now.
They do seem locked in.
Like they are on a mission. They're not going to overlook anybody. They want the 1 seed. And they know that this Buffalo game on Thursday night, that's 2 points. And Dallas has won 3 straight now. Like I talk about with Vegas and Edmonton, like now I think Dallas is better than both those teams, which is funny because Edmonton's been to the Cup Finals the last 2 years. Whatever. So Dallas did it first, and there's no surprise there. Good comeback win for Dallas tonight. Mikko scored for the Stars, but they're still 4 points back of you. Dallas is 4 points back of you. You got to keep going. You don't want Dallas to pass you. I guarantee you that this team is very aware of where Dallas is behind them and their desire for the 1 seed.
Yeah, there's not really a lot of time between the beginning of the season and right now at the beginning of November to separate yourselves for the rest from the rest of the division and from the rest of the conference, right? You look at obviously Dallas, as you said, 4 points back. We've been talking about how hot Anaheim is and how much of a struggle the early goings on for Edmonton have been. Edmonton's only 5 points back of first place in the Pacific, right? So that feels incredibly close with how quickly things can go wrong, either with injuries or you just hit a rough patch where you're not winning and pucks aren't going in, or you get bad goaltending. As good as the Avs have been, doesn't it feel like they should be more than 4 points up on Dallas right now?
It does, but it goes to show how sneaky it is. And boom, Dallas can whip off 3 straight,
Yep.
and they're 10-4-3. And even though Dallas was, had a little lull in the first couple weeks of the season, just bam, just like that, you're at 23 points. So I mean, that's what it's going to be. It's going to be Colorado and Dallas fighting for the 1 seed, as it should be. And that's why a Buffalo game is extremely important on Thursday night. And they're not gonna overlook Buffalo. They're not.
All right. I'm glad you talked me off of it. McKinnon, 32 points, paces the league. Is the 6-point lead on Leo Carlson and Macklin Celebrini. Connor Bedard, 7 points behind him. Then once you get out of the kids, the children, you get to William Nylander, Connor McDavid, and Mikko Rantanen at 24 and 23 points apiece. Cale Makar tied for 7th with Mikko there at 23. David Pastrnak scored his 400th career goal tonight in a win for Boston. Boston continues to shock me, man. I thought they were going to be a dumpster fire.
Yeah, I thought they would be average. But it's also the East. It's also the East. Like that's a
Great
key
point.
factor with the Panthers injuries. Brady Tkachuk's been hurt. The Leafs lose Marner. That has opened up, and the Rangers struggling at home has opened up the East. And now Boston can be 11-7. And look, that's the Avs' one regulation loss of the season was in Boston. Guess what? They're 11-7. They're tied with the Canadiens atop the Atlantic. It doesn't look that bad in retrospect. And The Sharks loss doesn't look that bad in
No, it
retrospect.
doesn't. That does not look that bad. That when that happened, I went, "How do you lose to the Sharks?" And then you see them kind of rattle off these scrappy wins, and you go, "Okay, I get it now."
I kind of they getting Celebrini last year towards the end of the season. I saw just a little something there. There's a little something there. But yeah, these were also, except for the Boston loss, like all their losses have been like second night of a back to back or overtime shootout. So hey, they got that monkey off their back on Sunday night. Oh, get ready for the overtime wave of progression to the mean. Next time the Avs go to overtime, put it in the bank. They're going to get their second one. Hey, interesting homestand too. Islanders on Sunday, and that's a very beatable team. Patrick Waugh's Islanders,
Both New
and
York
then
teams are.
and then you got like 3 days off until Thursday against the Rangers. You're going to be at home for like a week and a half plus, only having played 4 games. Lots of time for rest. Lots of time for Nichushkin's lower body to maybe heal up, assuming nothing's broken or anything like that. Um, and even if it is, there's depth on this team. Gavin Brindley getting the 2-year extension today.
Oh yeah, we haven't talked about that yet.
Yeah, we should, because I mean, that could, you want to know who I thought Brindley, now they're different. There are differences. But he could be this team's, and again, there's differences. Okay. It's not a perfect comparison, but he could be this team's, speaking of the Islanders on Sunday, Jonathan Drouin. Kind of reminds me of Drouin, at least offensively. Now he's scrappier and more physical defensively, although Drouin picked that up a little bit when he came to Colorado. But Brindley, smaller guy. Now the shot's different. Drouin's a lefty. Brindley's a righty. Smaller guys, play hard, have offensive skill. Brindley for still under $1 million for the next 2 years, and there's offensive upside there. That could be an absolute steal.
Does he have to fire his agent? When I saw that number come through today, I went, "What?"
I was thinking like $2.5 million. Like when I saw it come down, my guess was 2.5 for the next.
The reason why we think that is because we've seen all of these extensions for these young players around the league that haven't really played all that much. And Brindley has 20 games to his NHL stat line. I think he played like 3. Maybe there were a few more in Columbus, but I think he played like 3 games as a Blue Jacket last year. So I understand, like, hey, we're not going to give a 7-year, $7 million deal to a guy who's played 20 games. I understand that, but he's making less in year 2 than he is right now. Like, I don't understand what was going on there. Maybe it was just the promise of, hey, we're going to give you the 2-year deal so we can skip RFA for you. And that's what this is. They're getting him past that RFA stage so we can just hit free agency and then cash in. But $900K and $850 is insane.
Yeah, maybe, because look, I mean, it's huge for the Avs, because I mean, what that does to your flexibility now is incredible, that you have that player with that potential. Maybe Brindley thinks, hey, I want to be here because I get to play with this team and that'll help my numbers in the long run, which makes me more money in the long run. There's that potentially. I don't know, but and hey, look, there's no guarantee that Gavin Brindley,
of course,
keeps it up, and is like this offensive stud. Because my hesitation with him was like, I was like, okay, well, like Cal Ritchie, like lots of hype, late first round pick, looked good in his first game or two, then the NHL was a lot for him. Not necessarily the case with Gavin Brindley, but still, it's just been 1 month. No matter what, though, he has shown he's going to be scrappy and tough to deal with defensively.
So let's think about it this way. Brindley is essentially a first-round pick. He's a very high second rounder.
Sure.
Logan O'Connor, in the middle of his first season in the NHL, he had played under 50 games in his career. signed that 3-year deal at like it was either one on the nose or like 1.1 or 1.05, something like that. He signed that
Mhm.
3-year extension. Now he's on his second extension. Um, he did that as an undrafted college free agent out of the University of Denver. And Brindley is signing a 2-year deal at under $1 million. Like it doesn't make sense to me in terms
But
of
at 20,
pedigree
he's
and
21, whereas O'Connor was an undrafted college guy, so he's now already in his like mid 20s at that
good
point.
point. And right. He's also a different style. Like you've got some like
Mhm.
meat to O'Connor, so you're going to get your value there at some point.
Mhm.
Dude, it
But yeah,
it
the
baffles me.
potential with like there's a potential that yeah, he could look back on this little he kind of it's like a way opposite end of the spectrum, but there is a similarity to McDavid where like it's like, hey man, you could have actually made a little more money, but
I don't
there
know,
are
man.
also
I love it, dude. It's so good for it's so freaking good for the Abs.
yeah,
You essentially get Gavin Brindley for all 3 years of his entry level contract, even though you didn't draft him. That's what this is.
yeah, yeah. Speaking of O'Connor, now it seemed like he could have played in Canada this past weekend, but they chose not to, which, hey, fine. He's coming back from hip surgery. Avs are playing great and super deep because they have a Brindley and etc. Didn't need him. Clearly didn't need him. They got all 4 points. But if Nichushkin is out, do we see O'Connor on Thursday?
I'd like to see OC.
I understand still not rushing him. Like, I mean, you play it. I mean, coming off hip surgery, wait till he is 100% on the nose. There's absolutely no need to rush him. I think the early word was like late November on him. So I was a bit surprised that, oh crap, like there were reports that maybe he could have played this past weekend. But if he could have played this past weekend, does that mean that he is ready to go? And if Nichushkin's out, look, Val's O'Connor, kills penalties like Val, has that scrapped him like Val. He's smaller than Val, but he has that game. He's not offensively as dangerous as Val, though OC can hold his own offensively. Instead of calling back up Taylor McCarr or whoever, if O'Connor is ready to go, that's more of like a, hey, still fills out all four lines really well type deal.
I'd prefer O'Connor to play if Nichushkin is out. Move Landeskog up into the top 6, play him alongside Brock Nelson and Olafson, or Brock Nelson and
Colton.
Colton.
You could move Olafson. You could go Olafson, Colton, Nelson, and keep Landeskog
You
on the
could do
third
that.
line.
You could do that, but then
Now,
where does
I would be
O'Connor play?
Landeskog if it wasn't for the whole managing minutes thing, and it
Where
very
does
well
o-
could be Landeskog either way.
where does OC play then? Are you bringing OC back and he's
But then
playing with
he's
like
third
Bardakov and
line or
Brindley?
he's fourth line. He's third or
I'd
fourth.
rather bring OC back and handcuff him to Jack Drury on the third line.
Yeah, I mean that's where you go because if you're bringing either Olafson or Landeskog up from the third line, which means O'Connor just slots right into the third line.
I'd prefer that, especially with how good the fourth line looked tonight. The fourth line was like your best line on the ice.
Yeah, Bardakov was scrapped. That was maybe the most active he's been since scoring that goal that he
They're still
had.
sheltering the living hell out of that player. Like they're giving Brindley minutes.
Uh-huh.
Bardakov's playing like at 5-on-5, he's playing like 5 minutes a game right now, man. It's
Yeah, no, they
five,
are.
six
They
minutes a
are.
game. It's nuts.
But yeah, Brindley and Kelly, and I mean, they love both those guys, Parker Kelly and Gavin Brindley. So, yeah, it's a good fourth line. It is, and O'Connor. This is timing is kind of good. We just hope that it's nothing. I'd say worst case scenario with Val. I think it might have been a block shot. I think he blocked a couple tonight. Like you saw this with Ross Colton about this time last year. So broken foot, something like that. Val's had those types of injuries in his career. Man, these poor players like Eric Johnson, if you were to x-ray his feet, there's screws and bolts and there ain't even any bone left in those
Confetti.
things.
It doesn't look good. I can tell you that for sure. All right, Spring, you've been at the studio for far too many hours today. Get out of there. Go to sleep. Still got to get back to the studio tomorrow. It's going to do it for us tonight. Avs continue to stay red hot, top of the league, not only in points. Nathan McKinnon, 32 now, leads the NHL in goals and in points. Cale Makar with 23 points, paces all defensemen in goals, assists, and points. The Avs they're rolling right now, and they get a wounded Buffalo Sabres coming in on Thursday. Spring's right. They should beat the living crap out of them at Ball Arena Thursday evening. That'll do it for us for Spring. I'm Raj. This is Between the Pipes. Thanks for listening to Altitude Sports Radio.